Hello and welcome to another episode of Ungimmick. We are here for episode 4. We've made 4 episodes of this, boys. And we are joined by our whole crew. We have Alex Moreau. We have Connor McDonald, Matthew O'Neill, Sanjeev Vinod. My name is Gonçalo Souza. It is a pleasure to be here today. Once again, another week. And boys, we have a very exciting topic this week, like all weeks, but just to add to the drama.
How can it not be?
He's practicing his sales skills. After last time, he needs the sales skills.
Before we do get to the topic, we have, of course, our 1-minute recommendation of the week to get through. And this week we have Alex to present it.
Yes, my 1-minute recommendation. So first of all, I need to put it out there. I strongly recommend Connor McDonald.
Yeah, I'm with that
Angel,
one.
Just look at his face.
In general.
Just look at his face. It's amazing.
He's a national treasure. Is all I'm gonna say.
There it is, boys.
You got to see this. Go on YouTube. Check it out.
Go on the
So
YouTube.
now, if you're listening to this on Spotify, open youtube.com/ungimmicked and look at the videos. I mean, Connor's presence there is just gonna make your day.
It's gorgeous.
You guys are too sweet. Too sweet.
If you guys, for some reason, aren't satisfied with the best 1-minute recommendation there is, I'm still going to give another one for all of you that are hungry for dessert. And dessert is going to be Helder Guimarães.
Oh.
Oh, boy.
You'll have to excuse if I may correct the
Elder
pronunciation.
Okay, the Portuguese guy.
Elder Guimarães.
We are, yeah, that is quite good, Sanjeev. That is actually quite good. But yes, Elder Guimarães.
What?
He's a great guy.
Okay, I stole his national treasure now.
He is my national treasure. You know I like him very
Helder
much.
is an absolutely breathtaking performer, and
Yeah.
I think he's never put anything bad out. And
Wow.
I'm saying this in terms to the magic community, to the public, in theaters, and everything. Everything he's done is amazing.
And that's not easy.
The show he had with Derek was great. It was wonderful. He went on to have his own show, which was critically completely acclaimed. He put a couple of magic projects. There were Minor Miracles and Red Mirror. Great projects. And now there's his book. And if you're listening to this, you're going to go on secretlanguage.com. And if there are still copies of that book available, you're going to snatch them. Because in a couple years, they're going to be worth their weight in gold. I think it's the book.
And they're
I
heavy
love reading.
books.
I have hundreds of books. But this one is probably the book with the best average quality. Everything in there is worth reading carefully. You'll read it from the first page to the last, no exceptions. And Helder has a show running right now. It's called The Present, and it's an online show, and it's getting sold out, and there's reruns. It gets sold out super quick.
Half hour.
I think the first run sold out in 21 minutes. Like
Unbelievable.
15,000 people on Geffen Playhouse's website. Some crazy stuff. And if you can snatch a ticket or buy one, I don't know, do whatever you need to, it's going to be amazing. New York Times have reviewed it, Washington Post, LA Times, everyone's commending Helder, and I'm super happy to see such a wonderful artist break into the mainstream. This was not at all a 1-minute rec, so we're going to have to rename that the 4-minute rec for this episode. But yes, Helder, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to butcher that name again, Helder Guimarães for the English pronunciation.
Since we're in a spelling thing from week to week, his first name's Elder, Helder, and his last name Guimarães. It's Guimares.
That's like Nguyen.
Yeah, like the
Vietnamese
Vietnamese Nguyen.
Like
yeah.
you have no idea. Most people have no idea how to pronounce that.
Yeah, so once again, go watch his shows if you can. Go watch his material if you can see him live. And if you can snatch his book, you take one essay, a random out of that book, and it's worth the price of the book. Just saying.
Thank you, Alex, for recommending Helder in today's 1-minute recommendation, and we will move on to our topic for today, which, of course, Mr. Vinod will present for us. We'll be talking about how much of you should there be in your magic.
Thank you, Gonçalo, for saying everything that I had prepared. So, I mean, let's think about it, right? Okay, here's what I want from you guys. I think that's a great way to frame this. So, there are a lot of perspectives and approaches on how to approach authenticity in your act. right? There's many different ways. Some posit that every piece should talk about a personal story, a personal experience. Some say that in the props you can show things about yourself, or in the setting, the context, your outfit, all these little aspects of it, you can show things about yourself. And specifically, I attended a Carissa Hendricks lecture. Actually, she was speaking to the Magic Castle Juniors, and she said, Carissa, by the way, for those of you who do not know, she is definitely at the forefront of the character revolution in Magic. She has multiple characters, the most popular of which is Lucy Darling. And her stance was, even if you do not play a character when you're on a Magic stage, you must still carefully curate which parts of your personality, which parts of your identity you can show on stage, because you cannot show all of them. And
true.
I didn't directly agree. I didn't directly disagree. I was just unsure how I felt. And I wanted to think it out with you guys. So in the first half, I want to talk about how much of you guys think there should be in your Magic. And in the second half, I want to talk about how we should approach putting in more of ourselves in our acts, in our shows.
Yeah, before we deep dive into that, you brought it up an amazing point about how we don't bring, and I don't think we should bring, all aspects of our personality. I'm reading a book, Laws of Human Nature, Robert Greene, and he talks about the most common job in the world is actor. Because we're all actors. We're all showing to the public, at least, what we want them to think of us. The best version that we think we can perceive, because it's in our best interest to, because we want people to like us. We want people to give us more opportunities if they like us. It's all logical, more or less. Sanjeev's looking up like he doesn't know. Maybe not. Maybe
still
not.
Unsure. But go on.
But it's still an interesting thought that we can't bring all aspects of our personality, because it's sort of you're going into a different world. You want the good things about it, because you don't want people to experience, if not negative emotion, you don't want people to leave thinking, oh, I wasted my money. Maybe? Alex? Connor? Godsalo? Sanjeev?
If that's the thing they
No
remember
one
about your
else.
act, you have a bigger problem on your hands.
What?
If that's what people remember of your act at the end, you have bigger problems. If they're just thinking, oh wow, I wasted my money. Like, you didn't
Okay.
even leave the fingerprints, even on the bad side. People aren't going to say, oh, I didn't like that. Or screw that. Sorry, I almost swore there. Gonzalo wants to know that I'm trying really hard.
Saving the editing job.
Saving
So
some
all I'm
beats.
saying is, if you leave them with the indifference of, oh wow, the thing I wasted there was money, is, wow, you have bigger problems on your hand.
That's true.
Okay. I think like Alex did last time, I think it's a good idea to start with my stance to kind of give you guys a better look into what we're talking about here and provide a perspective to start sharing ideas off of. So I would argue the exact opposite, sorry, Matt, of what you had said earlier, in that, so background, I teach a class at Berkeley, and specifically the class I teach is on charisma and connection. Okay, so it's all about investigating relationships through the lens of the conversations that create them. And one of our core mindsets, one of our core values is authenticity. And I definitely strongly believe that the greatest connection that can be formed between people is when you see their quote unquote bad side. Because what we see as our bad side, I think, adds an aspect of humanity that performative outer actor self cannot even hope to reach. And sometimes the people we admire the most are because they're so unapologetically themselves. Whether it's talking about their flaws, whether it's saying, oh, I'm late to things all the time, I forget things all the time, I'm really selfish. And when people say those things, when people show those things, it adds an endearing side to them that it's like they're within reach now. You know, you can empathize with them, you can connect with them, understand them better because they have these little things about them that you can relate to. And I'm curious to hear your stance on that. Most people don't have flaws. I would disagree. And I think they should not be.
That's where you get. I was just listening to something on that today. It's all about confidence. It's all about how you want to portray, or how you feel those we can call them flaws for the sake of the argument. Even if it is a flaw and you own it to a point where you're comfortable with it, people, even if they disagree, if it's an opinion, if they disagree, or if it's just a fact, if they claim that they don't agree with you or they don't see it in the same way or they clearly identify it as a flaw, if you carry that with confidence and knowing that, okay, that's saying, as you said, Sanjeev, being unapologetically themselves, people will naturally relate to that. People will naturally want to know more about you because you're a person with confidence. You're a person who has almost learned to embrace themselves.
I don't know. I know Alex is about to drop a nuke on this. But I also don't know if I agree, but I'll let Alex go because I'm ready for blood.
No, don't worry. Don't worry about it. The thing is, I'm just gonna argue that popular culture really formed and influenced our ways to think about this. All the best-selling books and all, the training or get more confident off stage or get rid of your stage fright, all those sorts of things really made people sort of the mainstream, I think, really wanted to believe that there's a side you show, there's a side you don't show. You have your little garden of secrets, you have your family, you have your friends, I think we've just sort of been programmed to think like this a bit passively. And even in the way we speak, oh, sorry for the other night, that wasn't like me. Well, fuck you. Sorry, because I cracked. I couldn't. Like, if you take a pie chart of you, there's only one color. You are 100% you. You are nothing but you. Now that you is influenced by all sorts of things, by people, by context, by social status, by so many things. But that's who you are. And then there might be some parts you don't like. Well, news for you.
And saying, that wasn't me. It's you separate yourself from that, but you can't really.
Yeah, and I don't think we do this in a dishonest way. I think we do this in a genuine way.
Yeah, no.
And I think it's more often a way to say I didn't mean to do it, which by all means we all make mistakes and it's completely fine. But we sort of normalize okay, there's different me's, and sometimes, I have the bar chill me, I have the work me. Well, that's just one big unit, if you ask me. And so when you're on stage, it's part of your unit, and it doesn't matter if you're playing a different character. That character is part of your unit of existence.
I don't think you're disagreeing with me, though. I think you're furthering my point.
I don't disagree with anyone, really.
No, okay, no, because the way I mean, I guess Matthew kind of presented your argument, and not
Sorry.
you. Matthew presented it for you.
I'm the hype man.
But I agree because it is 100% you. And just to use your point to leverage mine. When you understand that you are 100% you, and you decide to show people that 100%, people will tend to relate to you more.
Well, you know what? I don't think you need to decide to show them. I think by being, you show people who you are.
No, I think you do need to decide because I think you're pushed or pressured into not showing that.
I don't think it's a conscious decision. I think it's more of a passive thing.
Matt, what was the word that you used in the last episode instead of vulnerability? What did you use? What was the word?
Humanity.
Humanity. That whole you.
Authenticity.
That's just authenticity. That's just you, and just put that out there, and
Alex was saying. Sorry for interrupting you. Finish.
No, you're good. No.
All right. Alex was saying people can very easily sniff out fakeness. You can very, very easily sniff out when you're trying to be not you. When you're putting in conscious effort to try to be something you're not. And people are very...
What's interesting is that not you now becomes part of you. You pretending to be that person that's not you becomes somewhat you.
Part
and the
of
fact
you
of trying to distance yourself is also part of you. So all that thing sort of brings, feeds into the bubble.
And getting that reputation, becoming a part of you, is the opposite of what you intended to do in the first place.
Yeah, completely.
See, I would just to make sure that we're all on the same page here, I would say that, Matt, that point you brought up, that don't try to be something that you're not, I think we're all in 100% agreement on that. So it's not really an argument to me because it's like, yes, we all agree. I think the more interesting part is we're not really trying to be someone else, but we're trying to only be this specific part of us while suppressing these other parts of us. So yes, we're not being someone else, we're still being us, but we're being this very filtered, carefully chosen version of ourselves.
Suppressing.
And that's the part that I'm asking you guys about. Is that okay? So it's not even as broad as trying to be someone else. It's just being a narrower version of you.
It comes down to that old question. Is admitting the truth the same as telling a lie? So is showing just half of you being someone else? Or are you not being yourself by hiding part of you? So that then you get into that where's the line kind of thing.
Well, let me bring this maybe into the performing realm, because in the end we want to talk in a broad way, but we're all here magicians. I think people listening to this podcast are mostly interested in performance as a whole. So let me try and go into the extreme example of performance. Let's say you take someone's act, maybe it be magical, maybe it's comedy act, it's routine, and you do your best to emulate that. And I'm not gonna say emulate, I'm just gonna say copy. And if you do that, fuck you. Straight up. I'm sorry. And it's worse in some parts than the other, but no matter how you do it, it's bad. Unless it's very niche things, you can do third degree, whatever. Even if you do that, and on that stage, you're trying to emulate that person, even like the way you dress, speak, act, do techniques, in kind of magic, deliver with jokes, well, that is now a part of you. And I'm not saying the original creator, the copy of that creator is now you. Because once again, every time people see you, they're just adding what they're seeing to the rest of the definition of you, right? Oh, I didn't know this part of him. So even when you emulate and you're being that fake, well, that fakeness now sort of merges into who you're genuinely. So all I'm going to say is it doesn't matter how hard you try or don't try. Everything that people are going to see you do, or everyone, what you are on a daily basis, is just going to eventually grow who you are as a whole.
So then how does this possibly apply to people who are playing like a character? Like, for example, I read Rob Zabrecki's memoir, and in the memoir he says he got into magic and he had the ability to kind of hide, and not hide himself, but he had a new light in a new area to be who he wanted to be and show people what he wanted them to see. And so that's kind of how this Zabrecki character came to be. You know, he was able to just put his interest into magic and be someone who he wasn't, you know, but yet that's still very authentic. All the interests, you know, he was saying he's into Twilight Zone, all that type of stuff, that's all there. And so but let's look at people like Carissa Hendricks, and I'm just wondering how maybe could this possibly apply. I know that's a little off topic, but I just want to bring it up.
No, it's
Before
interesting.
we dive
I'm
into
for it, yeah.
what Connor said, I have a thing for Alex, what he just said. When you were saying copy, something like a light bulb went off, because sort of everybody, when they get started, they copy who they admire, right? But when you become, I don't want to say professional, but when you become better, you lose the copy and start doing your own things, because through copying other people see the fakeness and that gets washed away, but the things that stick to what is authentic from all those influence stays, and that becomes the new character.
And so eventually, even if your new character that is more you, arguably, there is part of your inspirations, because essentially like you're taking the whole house and just taking bricks down, but some of those bricks are going to stay and going to eventually be part of you. And I'm gonna try and just complete what Connor said and give my opinion on it, is that I believe that what Rob did is he saw an opportunity. He realized that the him and the him in himself, the him he portrayed, I'm not exactly sure, I haven't read that memoir, but he felt it was missing a portion. And I believe that at that moment you go, oh wow, I need to show more of this, or I need to show more of this, or I need to be more of this. That, okay, performing is for me an opportunity. It's going to be a lens for me to project more of that, and not only to project to other people, but to project internally, to really accomplish myself and be happy with who I am. So now, performing becomes a tool to define more of who you are as a person, which is wonderful. Which is, I mean, you can't ask anything more of anything than just helping you build yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like, who would you guys be if you hadn't started magic? You wouldn't be the same person.
Not at all.
But you've built yourself through the
Very
lens of
different.
magic, like the same way you build yourself through the lens of your studies you do, through the lens of the jobs you accomplish, through the lens of the friends you make.
It's cumulative.
I mean, there's this, I think, general life philosophy that you are the average of your 5 closest friends.
Absolutely.
And I mean,
Yeah,
I mean,
so Alex is bringing that average up. No, but
yeah, it's a little stretch to call him a closest friend. But I see your point. Matt. I see your,
That hit close to home.
No, see, it extends to magic though, right? Like you are the obviously in life it's a theory people agree with, disagree with, but in magic, I think it's fair to say you are really close to the average of your 5 greatest influences. I mean, Alex is a huge influence for me. We talk a lot. We're virtually married. And so like Danny De Ortiz, an
he's
idol.
cheating on Gonzalo.
Yeah.
Having
Oh, yeah,
my
Gonzalo's
name with
getting a
that
little
name
mad.
in the same sentence makes me infinitely proud and a little...
Alex,
You
don't
can't
go
put my
there.
name inside. You just can't.
Gentlemen,
You swear too much. We don't need to get this rated R.
I need to take it from you because we are at the halfway point.
Okay.
And we need to go.
Time's flying.
Time-
flying.
Great
What a
discussion.
spot.
So
What a spot.
it is time for my weekly social media plug.
Oh yeah.
Because you know it's coming. But yes, you can listen to this podcast basically wherever you would like because we are on Spotify, we are on Apple Podcasts. I think we're also on Stitcher. That got approved. And we are on YouTube. YouTube.com/ungimmicked. We are on Facebook. Facebook.com/ungimmicked. Instagram @ungimmicked. Or even at Patreon. If you want to really join our journey, you can go to patreon.com/ungimmicked. And ungimmicked is spelled UNGIMMICKED.
Donate to our Patreon so Gonzalo can get better clothes in his background.
Yes. No, it hit me. I was like, wait, it's our segment time. Wait, we need a reason for people to donate. Thank you, Matt, for putting through.
Okay, so donate so that
face.
Gonzalo can have a better background of clothes, and so Matthew can just have better clothes.
Ooh.
Oh,
So
actually,
once you have a
I'm
better
wearing the
background-
shirt. I'm wearing the shirt from my restaurant gig. That's actually hilarious.
Oh.
Go to the Independent Brewing Company in Bel Air, Maryland.
That's an
When they
excellent
open
shout out.
again.
Just for
goes
the
to
record, because
Maryland?
people listening to this are gonna figure out that Matthew and I have a very weird relationship.
You think?
What kind of relationship are you talking
Just to
about?
be clear, Matthew has been elected. He wasn't involved in the election, but he was elected as the scapegoat of the podcast. But I like very much Matthew, and I enjoy very much sharing with him and helping him out and having him help me out. And it's I just wanted to be clear on that.
It's all love here.
It took
It's
you
all
4
love.
episodes.
to finally say that.
It took me 1 year to get it out, homie.
Well,
Happy to
Matthew, since you are since all cameras are pointed at you, I'm
Yeah.
passing the word to you because you are presenting today's breather crimp.
Definitely. All right, so where do you get magic? There's a couple places. One of the biggest magic shops, online magic shops at least, is Penguin Magic. A lot of great stuff you can get there, a lot of good prices, but they have Penguin Live Lectures where freaking amazing magicians from all over are doing long lectures. Some of them are like 4 hours, 5 hours. And they're doing a deal. I don't know if it's right now, but they're doing a deal, which is 5 lectures for $99. This is not sponsored in any way by them, but here's
But
I'm
it
doing
can
something-
be.
But it can
Penguin
be.
Magic, if you're
Penguin,
listening.
hit us up at ungimmicked. We need to spell it 5 times. Spell it 5 times, and Penguin Magic will appear behind you. And Dan
There's a
Harlan
penguin
will
just
wrap his
popping behind
ponytail
you.
around. But okay, so here's the question though, guys. We've all downloaded a bunch of Penguin lectures over the months and over the years. What is your favorite? Well, there's 5 of us. They can get 5 lectures. Who has a recommendation for a good Penguin lecture?
So many.
So, Alex has so many because he has what, hundreds? What, 122?
So
you said
I
you
have. So I have a subscription, so I get the lectures as they come out. And I just love getting content from Magic, cultivating myself. So I think I have close to 120. I have almost every single one of them. I don't have the really old ones, but sometimes I buy those deals you're talking about to complete that collection. So many good ones. You know what? I don't want to. There's a couple of obvious ones that everyone's gonna say because they're legendary, but I'm gonna say it. David Williamson. if you haven't watched that lecture,
Nice.
you're gonna buy it right now.
You
And
know, I
this is
actually
not
haven't
a
watched that
recommendation.
lecture.
This is an order. And you're gonna watch
Yeah, I
it,
haven't
and you're gonna
watched that.
spend the 5 most hilarious hours of your life.
5 hours?
It's 5 hours. David Wissam just goes.
Wow.
He just doesn't stop, and you're gonna be yourself. It is incredible. David Wissam is such an. I mean, he's a legend. I don't need to say anything else.
Wait, just as a quick question, Gonzalo, if you bleep that out, people aren't gonna know what they're gonna be doing to themselves, and there's a lot of possible words that could fall
It
out.
is. I don't know. Can I leave in, or
I
do I
think
have
you-
to?
Yeah, no, it's just the I. The more we say it, Dan Harlan comes faster.
Oh, we are gonna be bleeping that. Holy.
Yeah, oh my god.
Or just
yeah.
cut it
You know
out.
what?
Maybe
Bleep
it's
it,
just
leave
better
it
to
up
cut
to
it
the
out.
audience's-
Anything
Leave it
dissing
to their
anyone.
interpretation. Leave it to the audience interpretation.
Well,
Real
so
quick.
gentlemen, let's do this. Oh, we need to do this a bit quicker. So I just need the names of your recommendations for the Penguin Lab lectures.
Yes, recommendation. I'm gonna take this over. Danny De Ortiz, because
Oh, I was
have
gonna say
to-
that.
No, see, I wager the majority of both you guys and listeners aren't gonna be able to perform a thing he does like him, because his style is very distinctive, because it stems directly from who he is. I think is a great example to study even for the rest of this podcast. But it's his theory, his philosophy. He's a thinker, and I respect that. And
He's
some
awesome.
of his thoughts on how magicians should be approaching magic, I think, are incredibly insightful.
Since Alex has so many, I'm gonna go ahead and steal the one he's been watching recently. I'm gonna say Jared Koff.
And you haven't even
Nice.
watched it yet, and you know it's gonna be amazing.
I'm about to watch it. I'm gonna get it. I promise. Also with David Williamson.
Okay, you do David Wissam, and I'll just comment quickly on Jared Kopf. Jared
Yeah,
Kopf
yeah.
understand what a lecture is supposed to be about. He literally chose those tricks specifically that he hasn't been performing for a long time, specifically to illustrate points he wants to get across, and that's what a lecture should be doing.
That's awesome.
So I think we
Great.
still have Connor and Gonzalo.
I'm gonna be completely honest. I thank you, Matt, for the recommendation, because I literally did not know any of this existed. So I have 0 lectures, but it is something that I'm definitely gonna need to look into, and I'm gonna figure it out. So
Get on it, Connor.
Yeah, me and Connor are in
like,
the same
I
boat. I
really
think
did
I've
not
watched.
know this existed.
Yeah, I think I've watched
until, like,
one or
the
two
other day.
Penguin Live lectures in my whole life.
Ooh.
You guys are
so-
missing out.
Yeah, there's some good stuff on there. There's some good stuff.
We will have Connor. I think it's up to us now to go and just get it and get on the
do it.
grind of the lectures.
The average of the 5 people you hang around with. We need to get 2 friends that listen to Penguin lectures.
Matthew, thank you for that breather crimp.
Yeah, no worries.
And I'm gonna give it back. Whoever wants to take it, because I think we were at a little.
Sanjeev had something.
Sanjeev had something. So Sanjeev, let's bring the discussion back to you.
Thank you, Gonzalo. I want to pivot to the second half, because I think the most useful material, at least to me, what I want to hear from you guys is going to come out here. And I think we are more or less in unanimous agreement that your performance, your shows, your magic should be a reflection of who you are. I think we had some disagreement on how much of an extent you should show about yourself, but still, I think we all agree that you should be. And so, how do you approach taking magic, and wherever you learn magic from, at least for the beginning of your career, a lot of it's other people's magic. How do you take that and approach injecting you into it? There's that common phrase of making it more you. I think even larger than that, even when you're creating your own stuff, even when you're writing your own shows, how do you ensure that you're projecting different sides of yourself and showing a lot about who you are as a person and getting people to care about that?
I just want to make one quick
Authenticity.
comment because I disagree on something.
Go
I'm
on.
sorry. I don't
That's
think
all right.
you necessarily need to express who you are. I think you need to express what you want to say. And if what you want to say forces you to get out of your comfort zone to express it properly in the context of the show, I think you should do so.
But it's still the same answer is authenticity.
Then it becomes part of you, exactly. Where we get back
Genuine
to that first part.
genuine interest. For example,
Interesting.
I just use the concept, the example of my show. My new show that I'm writing is about superstitions, because that's something I'm genuinely interested in. I think it's cool. I have a cool cultural association with interesting superstitions, and I'm interested in learning about my audiences. And
I love
it
that.
doesn't
Yeah.
feel fake because it's something I deeply care about. It's not because it's not fake. It's real.
Yeah.
Connor?
Matt, you just touched on exactly what I was going to say. I think
There you
that if
go.
you work on something that you're passionate about, it is inevitable that you will come out in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, with your superstition thing, like, if you're passionate about it and you're working on it, and when you go out there and you're doing what you love, I think that it's just inevitable that you are going to come out and show yourself to the audience.
People are gonna feel that. People can recognize when something's real
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting.
on anything. Even when Sanjeev was talking about public speaking,
Mhm.
if someone is using fake examples, like say, oh, I was once in a swimming competition and I've never, I don't know, been in a swimming pool past the age of 8. People can they won't know what it is exactly, but they'll feel like, oh, something was off about it.
Ooh, you're giving me the perfect segue into magic presentations, and I hate that word.
Yes, go for it. Kill him.
Yes.
Let's go.
If
ready.
after your presentation or script or patter or whatever demeaning term you want to put on that, and I'm sure we're gonna do an episode about
I hate the word patter so much.
patter is the most demeaning. Oh, whatever.
Oh my God.
If you need to clarify things after, you have failed as a performer. This appeared in lecture.
Elaborate. What
of
does
a-
clarify mean?
Of a
'Cause I
great
asked you that last
magician,
time you said.
a really wonderful performer. He makes his living. I'm not here to throw out names. It doesn't matter. He did a whole trick for a room full of magicians that started with, I really hate Rubik's Cube magic. But I always say I'm doing a stupid voice, but he did it, he just said, oh, I hate Rubik's Cube magic. Because in the end, it's just like algorithms, right? And people are like, oh, I guess. And so people were just forming their own opinions, but okay. And to everyone that wasn't scripted, he does this whole trick, and eventually it's just a segue for him to say, I found an algorithm for cards, which I won't comment on how I like that. I think you can probably figure that out for yourself. And at the end, when he finished the trick, everyone claps. Says, just for the record, I actually do like Rubik's Cube magic. And no, you just said honestly to a room full of people, I don't like Rubik's Cube magic. If at the end you need to clarify that, there's a problem. You can say what you don't think, but it has to be very clear to people that you're not thinking it. If you have to clarify at the end, you will have failed as a performer. And I am going to be... some people are probably going to disagree with this, but I am very, very categoric with that.
Those are the type of lies. As a magician, sometimes we gotta tell lies because, like, oh, we're putting the card in the deck when it's actually already on top. But
no, Matt. Sometimes, even then, I don't think you have to tell lies. That's a topic for a
Okay,
different.
well, okay,
yeah,
fine.
Go
it's
on.
not
But-
really about lies, but it means...
Not-
I want to give, like, another example. And
But
the
those are
best I
lies
can
you
think
don't
of-
tell ever. Those
best-
types of lies never.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
And
fair.
even when they don't lie, let's. I'm gonna take an example. It's probably not the best, but it's the one I think of immediately. It's Handsome Jack. When Handsome Jack is on stage and makes a very explicit comments about how his relationship with girls. And, once you go Jack, you never go back. What a punchline!
Oh my God.
You love it or you hate it, but what a punchline!
Yeah.
But at the end of the show, when he's back to John Lovick, he doesn't say, oh, by the way, I'm not like this with girls. No, because you understand as a part of the performance. So it's clear. I'm not saying only say things you think. I just say it has to be incredibly clear when it's not something you mean genuinely. And I think comedians do that wonderfully. The way they deliver things, they don't need to tell you exactly if that's a true opinion. The way they deliver. I mean, when you hear Dave Chappelle or a really top comedian make like a pretty sexist joke, which most comedians have sexist joke here and there. It doesn't make them sexist people, of course. It hits an incredible laugh, and nobody goes, "Oh my God, what a humongous dick." People go, "Ha ha ha," sort
Because
of playing
obviously
off
he
the
doesn't
stereotypes
mean
of
it.
society.
They make it clear that they don't mean it, but they also let people appreciate the structuring of it, the art of comedy in a sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And some people have gotten in trouble because it wasn't very clear. And there you have to make everything sure to clarify and make sure everything's clear. But if you're voluntarily doing any sort of performance and you're like, oh, by the way, just to be clear, I'm not. No, you missed. You completely missed.
Okay, I understand your point now, and I think we're in agreement there. Let's try to think of how to make this an active process. When you either choose or design or pick or read a piece of magic, how do you guys, and I'm looking for concrete things here, how do you approach taking this and saying, okay, what is a me way to present this? Because I think that's an important question that we probably don't ask enough.
I think you shouldn't do it like that most of the time.
Yeah, I feel like that's the horses, the carriages in front of the horse there. You have the way Alex actually taught me how to design things, because I couldn't design my own thing for the life of me before he sort of showed me that I also had it backwards, that you show what you want to say and then the effects are gonna follow.
Sanjeev, I think you wrote down the sequence of things I like to think things through, right?
Yes. So, for example, I have this piece. It's not ready yet, but Alex and I have been working on it tremendously, and it's not perfect. But I recite a poem in multiple languages, and at the end, a character in a painting disappears. I would have never in my life said, I want to do a piece where someone in a painting disappears. What can I add to that? No, it was the poem, and it was because I wanted to say it. I wanted to express myself. After then, we said, what would be cool to do to that feeling?
So can I just clarify something? I know Gonzalo, you want to say something, but I just want to clarify. So instead of thinking, hey, I love this magic trick, what can I do with it? You're going, what's the message I want to say? How can I put magic into that to say the message?
Yeah, studying magic is about knowing as much as you can so that when you have the thing you want to say, you can instantly know what applies.
Just for the record, you can also be chill and do other people's trick because it's a cool A-can, right? Or a cool card to pocket. But if it's an intent and you're going to put yourself where it's your own show or something, just make sure it's something that went right. And I know Matthew and Sanjeev, at least the two of you, know how I feel about things. There's a little more steps to just what do I want to say and how do I do it. I think I have
Definitely.
like 6 or 7 of them. And yeah, you should do it that way. I believe.
Yeah. Patreon material.
If you're comfortable, Alex, what would you share your steps?
You know what? Let me react off of them. So, Sanjeev, I believe you wrote them down. Can you recite them in order, one by one, just so I can quickly explain? Because it's very obscure. It's terms that we really use between us.
That's true.
Alex,
They're very...
I have between 5 and 15 distinct Google Keep notes titled Notes from Alex on this specific date. And I'm sorry, Alex, I don't remember which of these 15 dates you told me about this one specific
No
theory
problem.
on.
This is actually very important. So I'll do it off the top of my head, but I'm just scared to omit something that's really important. Well, so okay, let me go through things.
By the way, this is so important. Please even take a notepad. This is genius stuff. Super important.
Okay, so let me go through it. I'll try not forgetting anything. For me, the most important thing by very, very, very far, that's the center of everything I consider, is intent. If you have no good intentions of doing something or no intentions at all, well, that's a big problem you have to solve. If the intent isn't there, if it's not sincere, if it's not authentic, then you probably shouldn't do anything. So what do you want to do? Then the next thing is the context. So obviously there's places and times you want to be saying things, others when you don't, others when you don't feel like it, others when it's appropriate, others when it's needed. Then once you have a little clear idea of in what context you want to say that, think about the why. A lot of people usually forget this step. Why do you want to do magic to that? Is there something you want to say? Should you be the one saying it? Is it worth saying? Just consider all of that. Then there's the frame. Like, where exactly is the action going to happen? And I'm saying action because this is more, can be more than just a moment of magic. So define how things are framed, who is involved, in what to what length, etc., etc. Then there's the how. And I mean, by the how, I mean the how are you going to get your message across, not how you're doing the trick. So I'm going to be pulling that message across by moving a certain way, by saying certain things, by doing something, I don't know, you figure it out. Then there's the moments. Figure out the moments. They are strong moments in your in the flow that you're giving. Now these are the peak moments where everything makes sense, where everything ties together, and those are the big moments that usually people are going to remember. After you figure out the moments, I've actually put in the wrong order, but from the moments you make the flow. I'm sorry. So yeah, make sure you define the moments, and once you have the moments, it's very easy to fill in the blanks to make sure that they flow in nicely. So now you really have a logical structure, a sound logical structure From then, I would suggest thinking about the plot. And here you can think a little bit more in magic terms. And think about what's the plot you want to be dealing with. Once you have the plot, you figure out the presentation. And I really hate the word presentation, and I'm sure it'll be a subject someday. But figure out the window dressing. What are you going to be talking about to transmit that message, that intent, etc., etc. Once all of that is done, you can start thinking about effect, finally. So all that process beforehand could be completely void of magic. In fact, I think it should be most of the time. Once you have the effect, and you can start thinking about method. But essentially, if I can just leave people with one message here, is really give more thought to the intent, to the why it's there. Should the magic be there? Just figure out a trick, or figure yourself doing a trick. Take the magic away. Does it still mean something? Is what you're saying worth it? Well, if the magic doesn't complement what you're saying properly, just don't do the magic. Just tell the story. And if the magic brings something to that, well, all the better. Just do magic with it. But just make sure your magic is bringing something and you're doing the proper kind of magic for the proper reasons. Hope that made sense. I'll just stop there.
That's gold.
There's really nothing else that you have to say after that.
Thank you.
Alex,
And it's
thank
applicable
you.
to more than magic. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. Alex, thank you for sharing that with us. 'Cause
Very welcome.
that is your own personal way of looking at things. So we really appreciate you bringing that to the podcast. Now we are at the later stages of today's episode, so I'm going to bring it back to Sanjeev so he can summarize our points or the main arguments that we've made today. Sanjeev.
Thank you, Gonzalo. Man, I sometimes hate how quickly time goes by in these. Yeah, it's like we just started getting into it, and then where did time go? So today, I wanted to bring to you guys this general topic of authenticity, of you, character, and it started with, okay, how much of you should there be in your magic? And I think a general good way of looking at it that Alex has brought to my attention is, if you need to think, and if you're not sure, is my magic you enough? Is it me enough? Then it probably isn't. And I think we had different thoughts on, okay, how much of yourself do you show? Is it even an active process? Should it just be a subconscious, just being yourself rather than a trying to be something? And in the second half, we talked about, okay, how specifically to go about it. And I think Alex's process not only works for designing, but even when you're choosing effects, even if it's other people's effect, if you start from the why, if you start from here's what I want to say in my show, and then you go into, okay, after you go through that whole what, why, how, okay, here are pieces of magic that would suit that. Now, even if you are using something that might be someone else's material, you have a solid reason, a why for using it, and that natural you behind it will come out. That natural intent behind it will come out. Incredible discussion, guys. You've given me a lot to think about.
This was
Thank
great.
you. As
That was
usual,
awesome.
thank you. Yeah, thank you, guys.
Thank you, Sanjeev, for bringing this topic. Before we do sign off, I, of course, want to remind you of our social media. We are on Facebook. We're on Instagram. You can check out this podcast on YouTube as well as Spotify,
To
Apple.
see Connor.
The usuals to see Connor. That's the only reason why anyone would ever go to YouTube. And of course, we also have a Patreon page. That's patreon.com/ungimmick. Get Matthew better clothes. I think that's today's. I think that's today's.
You can see your own background, right?
To finish, we do have our last segment for today, and that is our assembly, today presented by Connor McDonald.
Thank you. So usually here we're supposed to recommend something that isn't magic, and that's definitely what I'm doing, but I'm kind of changing it a little bit. I'm recommending an activity that I think everyone should do. Now, this is something that I've only started doing fairly recently, but I think that it's important that everyone just takes time out of their day for mental health, and not even mental health, but also goal setting. One thing is that I think everyone should meditate. Now, I know it's you don't have to spend an hour sitting in a room alone meditating. It could be 5 to 10 minutes, but I definitely recommend just taking a few minutes, close your eyes, work on some breathing exercises, visualize your goal, what you want to achieve, Just breathe in positive energy and breathe in success and let out all the negative energy and stress that you have that's holding you back. And I definitely think you should just give it a try. You can try downloading the Calm app. That's one. I definitely just I just try YouTube, but it's all there. Give it a try.
This is why we love Connor.
That's not why we love Connor.
That's true.
There are
That's
many
true. It's a bit
reasons
more
why
lustful.
we love
Connor is the gift that just keeps on giving.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for all joining today. This was yet another episode of Ungimmick. We hope to be back next week and all the weeks following. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. This was Ungimmick.